Really? Y'all don't listen. I mean, literally, it was less than 2 weeks ago that I put out a video on how to prevent your pipes from freezing. And what happens? Last night, I get a call from a friend of mine in an absolute frenzy because a pipe burst at the property. My name is Chatto, and I've been a landlord for over 25 years. And last night, I got a call from a friend of mine, and he needed help. He needed a little chat with Chatto. So, in this video that I'm putting out today, there were 3 lessons out of that conversation that I gleaned that I want to give to you guys that can hopefully help you prevent and deal with emergencies. So, story time. Last night, about 6 o'clock, I get a call from my buddy. He's in an absolute frenzy because a pipe had burst. And there were, water was everywhere. He's 90 minutes away from the property, and he's trying to determine what he should be doing. So that being said, out of that conversation and in supporting him, there were 3 lessons that actually came to mind that I wanted to share with you guys to help you prevent and deal with emergencies. So the first lesson is attention to detail. And I did a video on it just recently, so if we can put it up here, that'd be great. If not, just go and search for the video. But that being said, attention to detail. So before the property was vacated, he told them, hey, make sure that you leave the heat on. Make sure you leave the heat on and make sure it's on at least 65 degrees. That would normally prevent the pipes from freezing. Pipes don't freeze, the pipes won't burst. That being said, the attention to detail part was he remembered that he's supposed to tell them to do that, right? So that was good, but he didn't pay attention to detail, and he didn't follow up after the place was vacated to make sure that the heat was on. He assumed because he told them that the heat would be on, that the heat would be on. So that was where attention to detail would have gone a long way to prevent this issue from happening. The second big thing, and it ties in a little bit, was being proactive. Like I said, he's about 90 minutes from the property, so it's not easy for him to run over there, jump in, and just check on things. It's 90 minutes there, 90 minutes back, 3 hours out of his day minimum. And it's really important, right? So there's a difference between a long distance landlord and a landlord that's absent. It's okay to be far from the property, but you do need to be proactive and make sure that things get handled. And whatever the case may be, he knew in the back of his head that, hey, we need to get this property checked on, make sure the heat's on, make sure everything's good. He knew in the back of his head that, but he never reached out to who he needed to reach out to. Actually, he reached out to them, but he didn't follow up with them to make sure that they would go check on the property and make sure these things were handled. And that took him quite some time to finally get this person to go and check on the property. And it was too long because by the time they checked on the property, the pipe had burst and water was everywhere. So that was the second one, is be proactive. And the third lesson is to lead in the moment. I couldn't really figure out what to call it, but lead in the moment is kind of like the context I want to put out. Things happen, things are an emergency, and acting out of emotion is probably not the best place to come, right? There's a little emotion involved. There's water everywhere. He feels responsible, like all that. There's emotion involved in it. And he was ready to jump in his car and drive up to the property. Mind you, he's calling me at 6 o'clock at night. He's at least 90 minutes away. And I'm like, yo, really, what are you going to do? Is something that you do in the next 12 hours going to really change the outcome at this point? It's happened, right? They already had the water shut off. You're not going to get the heat turned back on because the heater's underwater at this point. There's a foot of water plus in the basement. And what are you going to do? You're going to go there in the middle of the night when it's below freezing, get yourself sick, pump out this water right? And then that's going to pump on the ground and potentially cause a hazard with ice forming. I'm like, you need to get professionals to deal with this, right? So like, stop, take heed of the situation, figure out what's going on, figure out what your plan of action is, right? Sometimes just jumping into action immediately without thinking it through is not necessarily a good thing. It would have not benefited him in many ways to go up to the property last night, right? He needs to get it handled today, right? He's got a lot on his plate. He's got a lot of people to talk to, right? He knows that the water's off, right? He's got to get this thing drained, whether or not he's got to get a company to do it, whether or not he's got to get insurance involved. Like, that's a whole nother question. But he's now, like, he needs to be in a position to lead in the moment. Look at the situation, see what's going on, not live in fear of, oh my gosh, look at all the damage. What if there's mold? What if I need to do this now? What if that now, right? All that doesn't help, right? You need to look at the situation and say, okay, what are the action steps that I'm able to take now that are actually going to move the needle forward and get this situation corrected? Because living in that place of fear is not going to allow you to make good decisions. So with that being said, hopefully this video was informative. Hopefully you guys watch my videos and listen to prevent these issues. And I appreciate your hanging out for a little quick chat with Chatto. Have a great day, everybody.